aviondemand.com. Automotive training you can receive anywhere, anytime. Your online training starts here.
The customer complaint is a check engine light, runs rough, and poor fuel economy. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get our scanner and see what trouble code we may have, being that the check engine light is on. So let's go into the scan tool. We'll go into codes information, display codes, we'll check history codes, and you can see we have a code p0174. p0174 code says that the computer is adding fuel trying to correct a lean condition. The customer's complaint is poor fuel economy. So let's take a look at scan data and see if we see anything in scan data that may help us looking at the oxygen sensor and fuel trim PIDs. Let's go into scan data. We want to pay particular attention to bank 1 sensor 1 and bank 2 sensor 1. So I've pulled those to the top, and we want to watch these in a graph view of both oxygen sensors. So let's go ahead and start the engine. We can see that bank 1 sensor 1 oxygen sensor has went down low, and bank 2 sensor 1, which would be the p0174 bank, is hanging at the reference voltage of right around 450 millivolts. We have not achieved closed loop yet, but we're stuck at the reference voltage on bank 2 sensor 1, and we're showing a lean condition on bank 1 sensor 1. Not really getting any movement out of bank 2 sensor 1 as far as the oxygen sensor, and the other bank is reading extremely lean. So we have bank 2, no movement whatsoever, very little movement. It looks like we either have a problem with the oxygen sensor or possibly an open oxygen sensor circuit, and the other bank is reading extremely lean. Let's enlist the help of SureTrack and see if there's any additional information we may find in following proper diagnostic routine. In the SureTrack for the 2002 4.8 liter with p0174, they have a high rate of the oxygen sensor being the problem. So the best next step, being we're not getting any movement out of the right bank oxygen sensor, is to check the circuit and or replace the oxygen sensor. You can see that in SureTrack, 39 times replacing the oxygen sensor has fixed the p0174. Again, p0174 means that the computer will add fuel, but the oxygen sensor does not respond. When we ran the engine for a brief time there, we know the engine was cold. It was on startup. We should have been rich on both sides, but we had one stuck at the bias reference voltage at 450 millivolts and the other one lean. So we definitely want to investigate checking the oxygen sensors. What we need to do is utilize propane enrichment, add propane to the air intake, and see how both oxygen sensors respond. Both oxygen sensors should show a rich mixture when we introduce propane into the system. Let's go and see what happens when we do our oxygen sensor propane enrichment test. Let's go ahead and start the engine. See the Bank 1 sensor one's responding to the additional fuel, but the right oxygen sensor Bank 2 does not move rich when we add the propane. So we definitely have a problem with Bank 2 sensor 1, which would be the bank that would be setting the p0174. You can shut it off. When we went down to the oxygen sensor, we found that we had a connector pin problem at the oxygen sensor going into the signal line, the purple wire. We went ahead and repaired that. Now that we have the oxygen sensor connector repaired, let's take a look and see that both oxygen sensors will dance and are switching properly. Rev it a couple times. With the oxygen sensor connection fixed, we can see that both oxygen sensors are dancing rich and lean above the bias reference voltage of 450 millivolts. So SureTrack was pretty close in calling the oxygen sensor. It kind of led us right to the problem, which could have been the oxygen sensor. In this case, it was the connector to the oxygen sensor, but SureTrack sure does put us in the right direction.